So I welcome all of you. Let us resume the study of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 12. The Mohini Murti incarnation bewilders Lord Shiva. Let us begin with Mangalacharana. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namasreshtam Manumapi Sachi Putramatra Swarupam Rupam Tasyagrajam Rupurim माथुरीं भोष्टवातीं राधाकुण्डं गिरिवरमहो राधिका माधवासां प्राप्तो यस्य प्रतितकृपया श्रीगुरुं तं नतोऽस्मि कृष्णादन्यमदानचक्षणमपि स्वप्नेऽपि विश्वेश्वरे तस्मिन् भक्तिमहैतुकीं विदधतो हृत्काय वाग्भिः सदा श्रीलान् सद्गुणपुञ्ज केलिनिलयान् प्रेमावतारानहं वन्दे भागवतानि माननुलभम् मूर्ध्नानि पत्यक्षितौ आजानुलम्बितभुजौ कनकावधातौ सङ्कीर्तनैकपितरौ कमलायताक्षौ विश्वम्भरौ द्विजभरौ युगधर्मपालौ वन्दे जगत्प्रियकरौ करुणावतारौ जयतां सुरतौ पङ्गोर्मम मन्दमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपदाम्भोजौ राधा मदनमोहनौ नीलाचलनिवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्रसुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणाम्। हरे कृष्ण। So let us briefly review what we have discussed until now. We have discussed the Samudra Manthan Leela, where we have discussed how Indra was cursed by Durvasa Muni, and then subsequently the demigods, the demons gain victory over the demigods, and then the demigods headed by Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, they approach Lord Vishnu, and then Lord Vishnu asked the demigods to come to a truce with the demons, and then the churning of the milk ocean takes place, and how the nectar is actually given to the demigods by Mohini Murti, the form of the Supreme Lord. And then again a battle ensues, and then finally we have seen the dialogue between Indra and Bali Maharaj, and how Narad Muni pacifies, he says, he instructs the demigods not to prolong the fight, and then the demigods are very obedient to Narad Muni and they leave, and then Shukracharya revives some of the demons. And we started this chapter yesterday. We have seen Lord Shiva's prayers to Lord Madhusudana with a desire. Lord Shiva actually wanted to see Lord's form as a Mohini Murti. which was actually so very infatuating to everyone in this world. And then we will see how Lord Vishnu as Mohini Murti bewilders Lord Shiva. And then we will also see Lord Shiva's exalted consciousness. So Lord Shiva requests the form. He requests the Lord that he has seen all incarnations which the Lord has exhibited. And now, recently, that the Lord has appeared as a young, beautiful woman, Lord Shiva wishes to see that form of the Supreme Lord. And then Lord Shiva, after offering the choicest of the prayers, we had seen what prayers Lord Shiva had offered yesterday. By this, we will be able to understand what is Lord Shiva's position and how, in a very respectful and humble way, is actually Lord Shiva putting forth his purpose of this visit. It is not that immediately after he visits Lord Vishnu, he is asking, please show me that form. No, he glorifies the Supreme Lord. He prays to the Supreme Lord. He is in complete knowledge of who the Supreme Lord is, of who he is, of what this material creation is all about, how the Lord is related to the material creation, how is Lord simultaneously one and different from this creation, how Lord is the supreme controller, how Lord is the inexhaustible. So he is aware of all these things. He is in complete knowledge of these things. And finally, he puts forth the purpose of his visiting the Supreme Lord. So he says, my Lord, we have come here desiring to see that form of your Lordship, which you showed to the demons, to captivate them completely, and in this way enable the demigods to drink nectar. Lord Shiva expresses his eagerness to see that form of the Supreme Lord. So today we will see how Lord Vishnu as Mohini Murti bewilders Lord Shiva. So even before we go into this section, one must very carefully and attentively understand what is Lord Shiva's position. If we do not understand Lord Shiva's position, we will be completely misunderstanding this fasting. Completely we will misunderstand this fasting. So therefore, it is worth dedicating some time. Even if we do not start off the section, it is worth dedicating some time to understand what is the position of Lord Shiva. So are you able to see this? What does this represent? Can one of you please answer?
He is in jail and handcuffed.
Yes, he is in a jail, right? So it represents a prisoner. It represents a person who is actually violated the rules of the state, who has done some criminal activity, and that is why he is put into the prison. When he is put into the prison, then his activities are restricted, right? He cannot do whatever he likes. He may have some facilities, no doubt about that, but all his activities are guided by the rules of the prison. That means, and who makes the rules of the prison? The rules of the prison are made by the government, or to be in particular, there is some ministry called as the Home Ministry. So the Home Ministry makes certain rules for the prisons, how to control the prisoners. Certain rules are made by the Home Ministry. And then the rule book is there. And then there are certain people to implement those rules and regulations which are required for the prisoners. So the prisoners, when they operate only under those rules. Whatever happens to the prisoner, it is on the purview of only those rules which are laid down by the Home Ministry. The prisoner cannot do anything beyond that. Whatever activities of the prisoner are there, they are all governed by the rules of the prison, and the rules of the prison are given by the Home Ministry. So therefore, the Home Ministry is actually controlling the prisoner, but the Home Ministry is not directly controlling the prisoner. The Home Ministry has given in charge of the prisoner, or the government has given in charge of the prisoner to a certain jail. So there are certain authorities in the jail, and that person actually, and there are some rules. So that person who is the authority in the jail sees to it that the prisoners who are captive in the jail, they actually follow the rules and regulations. Whatever happens to the prisoner, it is under the rules and regulations or it is under the restrictions laid down by the jail authorities. Or it is under the supervision of the jail authorities. The restrictions are laid down by the government. So the government does not control these people directly. The government entrusts certain people to take care of these people, right? So basically, this represents a prisoner who has been convicted due to his wrong deeds. And what else does it represent? What else does it speak? It represents a prisoner who is undergoing a period of imprisonment. And what is the purpose of the imprisonment? The purpose of the imprisonment is to rectify the prisoner. So therefore, the conditioned soul is like this. He has been rebellious of the Supreme Lord since time immemorial. So therefore, for all such souls, this material, this cosmic manifestation has been created by the Supreme Lord, and they are put into this material world. When they become rebellious against the Lord, when they become envious of the Supreme Lord, when they start thinking, why should the Lord be the only enjoyer? Why shouldn't I enjoy? So for all such people, this material world is created by the Supreme Lord. And the Supreme Lord is just like a very kind and compassionate father. A kind and compassionate father, when his very young son, when a very immature son, when he starts rebelling, when he wants to drive the car, and when he's very, very adamant, what happens is the father buys a toy car, which resembles the car, but it is not the car. Because the boy cannot drive the car. So similarly, the Lord creates this material world. So this material world is actually like a prison. And we are all prisoners in this material world. And we are all controlled by the laws of nature. We are all controlled by the three modes of nature. As soon as a living entity comes into this material world, he is subjected to the three modes: Sattva Guna, Raja Guna, and Tamo Guna. And because he is subjected to the three modes, what happens? He is controlled by the three modes. All his activities are controlled by the three modes, just like all the activities of the prisoner are controlled by the rules and regulations of the prison. And the rules and regulations of the prison are indirectly laid. They are actually laid down by the government only, but the government is not directly taking care of the prisoner. The government is indirectly taking care of the prisoner. So therefore, all the activities of the conditioned soul in this material world are conducted by the three modes. What does the conditioned soul have? He has only the false ego. That's all. He wanted to be the Lord. He was envious of the Lord. So therefore, he's put here. So when he's put here, there is the influence of three modes on the conditioned soul. And when there is the influence of three modes on the conditioned soul, all his activities are conducted by the three modes. And therefore, he incurs certain thing called as karma. So under the influence of eternal time, the karma fructifies and the conditioned soul enjoys due to his good karma and suffers due to his bad karma, depending on the balance in his account. Good karma is credit, bad karma is debit. So whatever is the current balance, under the influence of time, he appears to enjoy the fruits of his results. He may become very rich, he may get a good job, or sometimes he appears to suffer also. But this is all basically under the influence of eternal time, under the influence of three modes of material nature. So, therefore, a conditioned soul is just like a prisoner. And what is the purpose that Lord has created this material world? To give the facility for a living entity to fulfill his so-called desires. And more importantly, this is a place for rectification. The conditioned soul will gradually come to understand that this is not a place for me, if he is intelligent. So the Supreme Lord has also sent. The Supreme Lord has sent sadhu. The Supreme Lord has sent. He manifests himself as Sri Guru. He has given us the Shastras. He has given us the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Everything is there. So therefore, these are all the opportunities to understand who we are. Although we may be prisoners, we have an opportunity. So therefore, another purpose of this material world is, the purpose is to make the conditioned soul understand what is actually his position and to rectify the conditioned soul, either by following the Vedas or by following Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Either ways, Vedas is a more indirect way. Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are direct instructions given by the Lord, and which speaks about the pastimes between the Lord and the devotees. So therefore, the whole purpose of creation of this material world is that the conditioned soul should be rectified. What is the purpose of a prison? The purpose of a prison is that the prisoner, the person who is in the prison, should be rectified and should become a normal citizen. Okay. And what does this represent? Can anyone answer? So this is a very important concept before going into this pastime.
The
Can
authorities,
anyone answer?
yes, who have the right to get in regulation the
Correct.
conditions.
Yes. Right. Any other answer?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji,
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
the rules laid down by the government and the paraphernalia associated with that, means the authority may have some luxuries or the power.
Yes. Correct. Correct. Any other answer? What does this actually represent? Okay, let us see. This represents a responsible police officer, right? Now we have seen a criminal. Now we are seeing somebody else. This represents a responsible police officer. And this represents a person whose services are deeply valued by the government. Right? Because he is a very good citizen and he is aware of all the laws and he has conducted himself very well and he has qualified himself. So therefore, he is put in that position. And when he is in that position, he is entrusted with certain responsibilities. And all his services are deeply valued by the government. Is it not? So this represents a person whose services are deeply valued by the government. And thirdly, this is a person who is very, very trustworthy to the government. And the government directly interacts with this person. See, this is just an analogy. This is an analogy before we get into this section. So this represents a person who is very, very trustworthy to the government. But the criminal, is he a person who is trustworthy? He is a trouble creator. That is why he is given a certain place. But this person, he is a very responsible person and he is valued very deeply by the government. He is very trustworthy to the government. That is why many facilities are given to him. He is not a lawbreaker, right? He is a very sincere and dedicated person. Now, this is analogous to the liberated souls, like Lord Shiva. Now, Lord Shiva, he is not one among us. First, we have to understand. He is not one among us. Although he may be present in the material world, although he may be in charge of one of the modes, he is actually not influenced by those modes. Now, such a police officer may be the in charge of a jail. But does that mean that he is a part of the jail? No, right? So therefore, Lord Shiva may be a part of this material world, but that does not mean that he is influenced by the three modes, like how the other conditioned souls are. So therefore, we should be very careful in understanding who Lord Shiva is. That is the analogy. A responsible officer, a government officer who is very, very trustworthy to the government, right? And that represents this represents the criminal. So both of them are in the jail only. That is common to both of them. But is there no difference between both of them? The difference is that a police officer, he is entrusted by the government to take care of these criminals. Although he may be in the jail, but he is not a part of the jail. And similarly, his activities are not as per the rules and regulations of the jail. His activities are not conducted as per rules and regulations laid down for criminals. For criminals, there is a separate set of rules and regulations. But for a responsible person, like the in charge of the jail, there are another set of rules and regulations by the government. And in fact, the government actually personally controls the activities of these officers. For example, an officer may be transferred, a police officer may be transferred from one place to another place by the government. But does that mean that, now when a criminal sees a police officer who is actually transferred, okay, and if he discusses amongst his peers, you see that police officer is punished, he is transferred. Does it make any sense? Absolutely not. Because government would have transferred that police officer because probably his services were required somewhere else, not this prison. Now, if the prisoner misunderstands the police officer to be someone like him, then it is foolishness on the part of the criminal, right? If a police officer is issued transfer order from that jail where the criminal is to another jail, and if the criminal goes and talks to his peers, you see, even this police officer is actually punished by the government. That person has been transferred. Does it make any sense on the part of the criminal? It absolutely makes no sense. That means the criminal is ignorant. He is foolish. If he thinks that the police officer is one among him, or if he thinks that the police officer is one among the criminals just because he is in the jail. Just because he is also under the same roof, it does not mean that the police officer is under the influence of the rules and regulations laid down for the criminals. The police officer is beyond the rules and regulations or beyond the rules and regulations that are controlling the criminal. The minister of, the Ministry of Home Affairs or whatever it may be, or the government, it directly interacts with the police officer, and their transfer and everything is actually, it's a direct interaction between the police officer and the government. So therefore, to think that the police officer and the criminals are same is a complete misconception. So therefore, even before we enter into this pastime, we should know that Lord Shiva is not one among us. We are all criminals. And Lord Shiva, although may be a part of the material world, he is actually not one among us. He is beyond the three modes. He is a person who is very, very dear to the Supreme Lord. All his activities are controlled personally by the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord, personally interferes with, the lives of such devotees. So, what are the points to understand here? Although both the prisoner and the police officer may be in the same jail, they cannot be considered equals. If somebody considers them to be equals, that person is ignorant. And government deals with both of them differently. It deals with the prisoners in a certain way and with the police officer in a different way. Because the police officer is a very, very responsible person. He is not a criminal. He is a very, very trustworthy person. He has personally been appointed by the government in a very, very high position. And, he is a person who is probably very dear to the government. It's just an analogy. So we have seen, so transfer of a prisoner from one place to another cannot be compared to transfer of a responsible police officer. Although both can be transfers in one sense, it cannot be compared. And the government deals directly with the police officer and indirectly with the prisoner. And this does not mean that the government or government's representative is partial. Is it the problem of the government that the government is dealing separately with both of them? No. If some person is very, very sincere and dedicated, the government will not deal with him in a way in which it deals with the criminals, right? Now, what is the difference between a conditioned soul and a pure soul or a liberated soul? The conditioned soul is actually under the influence of the three modes. And Lord is beyond the three modes. You're able to see the picture is not complete, but the Supreme Lord is actually controlling the three modes, and the three modes control the conditioned soul in this material world. Right? And the Lord is beyond the three modes. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. So the spirit soul, the conditioned spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of the false ego, he thinks that he is the doer of the activities. He misidentifies himself with the body. See, the moment he comes to this material world, because of his rebelliousness towards the Supreme Lord, he is put under the influence of the three modes. When he is put under the influence of the three modes, what happens if his misidentification with the body increases? He misidentifies himself with the body. And then he, he gets the karma. And he does all the activities under the influence of these three modes. And then he thinks that he is the doer of those activities because of his false ego. Because of this false ego, he thinks that he is the body. So therefore, he thinks that he is the doer of the activity. Just like Indra was, how Bali Maharaj actually chastised Indra. When Indra became apparently victorious, in the last chapter we have seen, Bali Maharaj says, all of us are under the influence of the eternal time. Eternal time is giving us the reactions as per our karma, as per the results of our prescribed activities. So therefore, do not be falsely proud. Indra was thinking that he has won the battle. He has conquered the demons. He has the power to do this. He has the power to do that. But Bali Maharaj is saying, all of us are under the influence of the eternal time. And time is giving us all this karma. It may be good karma or bad karma. Oh Indra, you and I all are under the influence of this time. All of us are a part of this material world only. All of us are criminals only. And sometimes we are victorious. Sometimes we are, we are defeated. Sometimes we are victorious. Sometimes we are defeated. Don't be so proud. You may be victorious today because of your good karma. Tomorrow, you may be defeated. So don't be so much obsessed with being victorious or being defeated. That's a very, very realized statement given by Bali Maharaj. Therefore, that is the problem with the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul misidentifies himself with the body because he is under the influence of three modes. And he thinks that he is the doer. But who is actually the doer? The three modes is the doer. He is helplessly Mamevamsho Jivaloke Jivabhuta Sanatana Manashashtan Indriyani Prakritisthani Karshati. He is helplessly struggling for existence in this material world. He is helplessly under the influence of the three modes. The three modes are like the rules and regulations, the laws governing a prisoner. He is under the three modes. Completely he is under the three modes. But he is not able to understand it. This is a conditioned soul. Whereas, what is a liberated soul or a pure devotee? Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakriti mashrita bhajantyananya manaso nyatva bhutadimapyayam. So, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, those who are not deluded, the great souls are under the protection of Daivi Prakriti. This Prakriti refers to the material nature, Apara Prakriti. But this Prakriti refers to the internal potency of the Lord, or the Para Prakriti. Mahatmanastu mam partha Daivim Prakriti mashrita bhajantyananya manaso nyatva bhutadimapyayam. Why are they under the influence of the divine nature? Because they are fully engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord. Mamchayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. When one takes to Avyabhicharani Bhakti, Mamchayo Avyabhicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevate, Sagunan Samatityetvan, that person who is engaged in unflinching devotional service to the Supreme Lord, the more one engages in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord, Avyabhicharani Bhakti means unflinching devotional service to the Supreme Lord under the guidance of the spiritual master. The more one engages in service of the Supreme Lord, the more one is actually under direct protection of the Supreme Lord. So the pure souls, the liberated souls, they are completely under the direct protection of the Lord. Like you see a responsible police officer, very trustworthy police officer to the government, he is, the government personally takes care of him. But the prisoner is, the government does not take care in the same way. It is not the problem with the government. It is the problem with the individual's conduct. What one has, how one has been conducting himself for a prolonged period of time. So similarly, here also, Mahatma, the Mahatmas, those souls like Lord Shiva, who are under the, who are completely engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Lord, who are always chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord, hearing about the Supreme Lord, worshipping the Supreme Lord. Such people, they are completely under the protection of divine nature or the Para Prakriti, Daivi Prakriti, Srimati Radharani. So, this is the difference between conditioned soul and liberated soul. Conditioned soul is under the influence of three modes. He is controlled by the three modes. He is not controlled directly by the Lord. The Lord only controls him, but the Lord controls him through the agency of Maya. Or the agency of Maya is the three modes of material nature, the Guna. Similarly, for a liberated soul, the Supreme Lord, because he is completely attached to the Supreme Lord, he does not have any material desire whatsoever. He is in the highest stage of devotional service. To such a person, the Lord, whatever happens to that person, it is actually the Lord's personal plan. He is not under the influence of three modes. Such a person, like Lord Shiva, who is a liberated soul, who is a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambho, he is not under the influence of the three modes. He is directly, all his activities are directly carried under the will of the Supreme Lord. He is acting as per the will of the Supreme Lord. Whatever happens in these devotees' lives, whatever is being orchestrated through these devotees, it is actually the personal will of the Lord. But whatever is happening for the conditioned souls, it is actually happening under the three modes. But whatever is happening to the great devotees, it is happening under the personal will of the Lord. So let us continue today's section. So we must understand that Lord Shiva is a liberated soul. He is a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. And whatever bewilderment Lord Shiva actually faced is actually the personal plan of the Supreme Lord. It is by the will of the Supreme Lord that Shiva was actually bewildered. Shiva's being bewildered is not like a conditioned soul being bewildered. Shiva's being bewildered is a personal plan of the Supreme Lord. It was the will of the Supreme Lord to teach the whole world a lesson to follow. So let us start. We may not cover many verses today, but that's all right. We had to make this discussion very clear. One has to understand who is Lord Shiva, what is his position. Shri Sukha Uvacha Evam Abhyartito Vishnu Bhagavan Shulapanina Prahasya Bhava Gambhiram Girisham Pratyabhasata. So Shukadeva Goswami said, when Lord Vishnu was thus requested by Lord Shiva, who carries a trident in his hand, he smiled with gravity and he replied to Lord Shiva as follows. Now see, Lord Vishnu is actually smiling, but at the same time, he is very, very grave. So smiling with gravity, one can just try to understand what would have been Lord's expression. He is simultaneously smiling, at the same time he is very, very grave also. So what is the significance of Lord's smile with gravity? Firstly, Lord Shiva is so self-controlled. He is such a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord. We have seen. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jihva vegam, udropastha vegam, etan vegan yo vishaheta dhiraha, sarvam api mam prativimsa sishyad. A person who is so self-controlled that even the illusory material energy cannot actually, captivate his mind. Lord Shiva wanted to see the Mohini Murti, which he expressed to the Lord in the previous verses. He wanted to see the form of the Lord as Mohini Murti, which was captivating the entire world. He wanted to see what is that form. And Lord Vishnu was gravely thinking of how to captivate Lord Shiva. How to captivate Lord Shiva, who could otherwise not be captivated by anything. Now, Lord Shiva basically wanted to see Mohini Murti because Mohini Murti was captivating the entire world. And Lord Vishnu, he is thinking how to captivate Lord Shiva. Shiva is not a person to be captivated. Shiva is so self-controlled. Shiva is a very, very advanced devotee. He is completely absorbed in Krishna. The material energy cannot captivate Lord Shiva. But Lord Vishnu is now thinking, now Lord Shiva is expressing, please, show me the form of Mohini Murti, which is actually captivating the entire world. And now Vishnu is so, he's thinking, Lord Vishnu is thinking, okay, how to captivate Lord Shiva now? So therefore, that is the significance of Lord's smile with gravity. So, of course, Lord Shiva is very self-controlled. He is a very advanced devotee. He is under the personal protection of the Lord's internal potency. And he knew the Lord's position. He was a great devotee of the Lord. But then he is a person who could not be captivated by any material energy. Anything material cannot captivate Lord Shiva. One must be very clear about this. But Lord Vishnu is the Supreme Lord. He, by his potency, he can actually assume a form that can even captivate Lord Shiva. This is not to bring down the position of Lord Shiva. This pastime happened not to bring down the position of Lord Shiva, but to actually understand that Lord Vishnu is the Supreme. And to understand that nothing material, Lord Shiva cannot be influenced by the three modes. If at all Lord Shiva is actually influenced, that is only by the internal potency of the Supreme Lord. Just like a very responsible and very trustworthy police officer. He cannot be influenced by the rules and regulations for the prisoners. If some prisoner thinks that, some transfer or something has happened to the police officer because he has committed some crime, it is foolishness. Similarly, if we think that Lord Shiva was bewildered by Mohini Murti, then it is our foolishness. So Lord Vishnu being Yogeshwara, what is that? Yoginam api sarvesham. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So Lord Vishnu being Yogeshwara, the Lord of all mystic power, he, by his potency, can assume a form. Only he can bewilder. If somebody can bewilder Lord Shiva, that is only Lord Vishnu, personally. Not Lord Vishnu's Maya. If something can happen to a responsible police officer, if something can happen to a responsible, trustworthy police officer, it is only by the personal will of the Prime Minister or the government. And it is not to be misunderstood as a result of the rules and regulations laid down for the criminals. So that is why no Lord is actually smiling. Prahasya bhava gambhiram. Prahasya, that means he is laughing. But bhava gambhiram, that means he is actually, the Lord is very, very grave also. The Lord is very gravely smiling. Because we will see. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Kautuhalaya Daityanam Yoshit Vesho Mayadhrita Pashyata Surakaryani Gate Piyusha Bhajane. So the Supreme Lord is saying to Lord Shiva, he is replying back. When the demons took away the jug of nectar, I assumed the form of a beautiful woman to bewilder the demons by directly cheating them and thus to act in the interest of the demigods. Tatteham darshayishyami didriksho surasattama kaminam bahumantavyam Sankalpa Prabhavodayam. So now Lord Vishnu is replying back. He continues speaking to Shiva. O best of the demigods, O Shiva, I shall now show you my form that is very much appreciated by those who are lusty. Since you want to see that form, I shall reveal it in your presence. Now, what is the significance of Lord Vishnu's reply? The form of Mohini Murti, it was very much bewildering to the demons. As we have seen in the past time, the demigods were not bewildered by Mohini Murti's form. The form of Mohini Murti was very much bewildering to the demons and not to the demigods. This Lord Shiva also knew very well. Now, who is actually bewildered by a woman's beauty? Only a person who has a demonic mentality. Only he is bewildered by a woman's beauty. Not a person who is actually advanced in Krishna consciousness or even who is in the modes of goodness. Even if a person is in knowledge, what to speak of somebody who is advanced in Krishna consciousness? Even if a person is in knowledge, even if he is in the mode of goodness, he is not so much bewildered by a woman's beauty because they understand that. See, when you see a beautiful woman, an advanced devotee or a person who is in great knowledge, deep knowledge, he will understand that this is Lord's creation. How beautiful must be the person who has created this beauty. So therefore, they are not bewildered. Yat yat vibhuti mat sattvam shrimat urjitam evava tattat evava gachantam mama tejomsha sambhavam. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, oh Arjuna, whatever you are seeing, which is extremely, yat yat vibhuti mat sattvam shrimat urjitam evava. Whatever opulence you are seeing in this world, it is all nothing but mama tejomsha sambhavam. It is nothing but it is my amsha. It is an amsha of my opulence. Because the pure devotees or the advanced devotees who are fixed in Krishna consciousness, or even those people who are in the mode of goodness, they know that this is actually the opulence. It's a very small opulence of the Supreme Lord. Because they understand the Supreme Lord. They understand the opulence of the Supreme Lord. So when they see something very beautiful, not only something beautiful, when they see something very, very powerful in this material world, when they see anything, they understand that, oh, this is just a small beauty. This is just a very small fragmental opulence of the Supreme Lord. They are not bewildered because they know the Lord. And whatever beauty they see, they are able to perceive it as a fragmental opulence of the Supreme Lord. So who is not bewildered by a woman's beauty? Those who are advanced in Krishna consciousness or even those who are in the mode of goodness, like demigods. So Lord Shiva knew that he could not be agitated by any so-called beautiful women. And he was thinking, Lord Shiva already knew that the form of Mohini Murti was bewildering the demons, but not the demigod. So he was thinking, the demigods are not agitated. What to speak of me? I am the best of all demigods. And we have seen in the previous section also, in Samudra Manthan pastime, how the demigods actually approached Lord Vishnu. They were headed by Lord Shiva and Brahma. So therefore, he is the best of all demigods. So when the demigods themselves are not bewildered by Mohini Murti, why would I, the best of all demigods, be bewildered? This was the thought process of Shiva. And Lord Vishnu also knew this. Lord Vishnu also knew that Lord Shiva is not an ordinary person. And he cannot be bewildered even by the most beautiful woman. So Kamadeva himself tried to invoke Shiva's lusty desires in the presence of Parvati Devi. But Lord Shiva was never agitated. Rather, he burnt Kamadeva into ashes. Can any of the conditioned souls actually withstand the arrows of Cupid? No. When the moment when Cupid comes and he shoots an arrow, we are gone. Even the great sages, they have fallen down from their position because of being attacked by the Cupid. So therefore, such a Cupid also was burnt to ashes by Lord Shiva when he tried to agitate Lord Shiva, when he tried to invoke lusty desires in Lord Shiva. Then what to speak of any other person? Nobody can actually agitate Lord Shiva. So now Lord Vishnu has to think twice because he also knows how great Lord Shiva is. He has to think twice about what kind of beautiful woman would actually bewilder even Lord Shiva. So he was in that thought What kind of woman is going to bewilder Lord Shiva? He is not going to be bewildered by any material woman. Even Kamadeva could not affect Lord Shiva. Now, what kind of person is actually going to bewilder Lord Shiva? So therefore, now, because Lord Shiva wanted to see Lord Vishnu's form as a woman, now Lord Vishnu decided to impersonate a woman and show him a form that would immediately put him in an ocean of lusty desire. So we should understand that if at all Lord Shiva was agitated, it is because of the personal will of the Supreme Lord. And by whom he was agitated? He was agitated by the Mohini incarnation. Who is Mohini Murti? Mohini Murti is none other than Lord Vishnu only. Nobody else could disturb Lord Shiva. But he was agitated by the will of the Supreme Lord and by the Supreme Lord. Because the Supreme Lord is the Supreme. Lord Vishnu is the Supreme. By the will of Vishnu, he was agitated, and he was agitated by the form of Vishnu only, not by any material form like you and me. Therefore, now Lord Vishnu, he said, Lord Shiva, I will show you my form as a woman. And if you want to be agitated by lusty desires, do not blame me. So Lord Shiva was confident. Even the demigods could not get agitated. I am the best of the demigods. And Lord Vishnu also knew this. But how would Lord Shiva be agitated now? And why should this be shown to everyone? Because to establish that Lord Vishnu is the Supreme. Lord Shiva is a great devotee, no doubt about that. But Lord Vishnu is the Supreme. One may be a very, very trustworthy and very responsible police officer, but government is the Supreme. Similarly, Lord Shiva may be a very great devotee. Yes, he is a very great devotee. He is not to be agitated by anyone in this material world. But if at all something can influence him, or something can agitate him, or something can bewilder him, it is only Lord Vishnu. Even Lord Brahma was bewildered by Lord Krishna. We will see in the 10th canto, in the past time. So who can bewilder these personalities? Nobody in this material world can bewilder these personalities. Only Lord Vishnu can bewilder these personalities. And why does he do that? In order to see, it's a very loving reciprocation actually. We will see tomorrow and day after tomorrow. Today we are out of time. So we will see what a loving exchange it was. Of course, Lord wants to establish, but there is a deeper meaning also to it, because it's a very loving pastime. It's a very loving exchange of love between the Lord and the pure devotee. We will see how it is so. So therefore, the attractive features of a woman are appreciated by those who are affected by lusty desires. However, those who are above the lusty desires, who are on the platform of Krishna consciousness, the attractive features of a woman are very difficult to bewilder those people. However, so for a person like Shiva, the attractive features of a woman cannot bewilder a person like Shiva. But by the desire of Supreme Lord, by the desire of Lord Vishnu, because Lord is the Supreme, everything is possible. By the desire of Supreme Lord, Lord Shiva can be put into bewilderment. By the desire of the Supreme Lord, Arjuna was put into illusion. That is why Bhagavad Gita was spoken. Now, if Lord wants to teach something, whom should he take into confidence? Right? Only his eternal associates can be taken into confidence, right? Why did Lord put Arjuna into confusion? Is it that Lord Arjuna did not know? Was he not a devotee of the Lord? Did he not know what was his duty, what was not his duty, and how to do, what to do? Did he know all this? Then why did Lord put Arjuna into illusion? Because he wanted to teach the world through Arjuna. Just like a mother-in-law. Suppose there is a newly married couple, the son and the daughter. They come to stay with the parents. And how will the mother-in-law teach something to the daughter-in-law? If something is not proper at home, she will immediately chastise the daughter. She will immediately chastise the daughter. Although the daughter has not committed that mistake. She will use the daughter to teach the daughter-in-law, right? If something is not in place and actually the daughter-in-law has done that mistake, the mother-in-law will immediately scream at the daughter. Hey, how many times have I told you? This is not supposed to be like this. That is not supposed to be like that. Then immediately the daughter-in-law understands. Oh, it is actually meant for me. But if she tells the daughter-in-law directly, she cannot tell that because she does not have a relation with the daughter-in-law yet, a newly married daughter-in-law I'm speaking about. She doesn't have that relation with the daughter-in-law yet. So therefore, she actually instructs the daughter because the daughter is very close. The daughter will not feel bad even if the mother shouts. She will understand that this is actually for somebody else. But my mother is very kind. Even if she, scolds me, I'm not going to take it heavily. So similarly, this is a very loving exchange between Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu to teach the whole world that Lord Vishnu is the supreme and Lord's Maya is very, very difficult to overcome. So let us resume tomorrow. If there are any questions, we can take up. Okay then. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.